Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, Grief, Life After Loss. My name is Lindsay and today, more than just talking about a specific topic, I want to pose this as a reflection for you guys because sometimes it's really good to be able to have certain evaluations, certain questions, internal dialogues with ourselves to truly understand how we are operating, some of our patterns, some of our behaviors, and understand where they're coming from. So today the topic is joy. So I know that you're probably looking at me like, Lindsay, what are you talking about? Like, what do joy and the grief experience have to do with one another? Because we are often taught that when we suffer the loss of a loved one, that we're supposed to suffer, that we're supposed to be in pain, we're supposed to be crying, we're supposed to live this life of just a lifelong mourning for the person that no longer is here. Right? When emotions of happiness and joy and peace and everything else come up, we kind of feel guilty, or we kind of feel like we have to hide those feelings because heaven forbid someone see us happy and then say, well, I guess Lindsay's fine after the loss of her loved one. Look at her laughing and chuckling, with her friends. It doesn't really look like she's grieving anymore. Where it's like, again, with emotions, you're never feeling one particular thing all the time. Even though it may feel like the duration of these emotions can sometimes last longer than others, it's never consistent enough to say that for 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day, you felt this one emotion. So I actually wrote down a few reflective questions that I myself have used to evaluate my thoughts, my patterns, my behaviors, my emotions, and just make sure that I was aligning with myself and it wasn't just kind of trying to keep up a facade for the world and what the world expects of me, right? So the first question that I have for you guys, is it possible to experience joy while you're grieving the loss of a loved one? The next question is it possible to see yourself outside of the pain, outside of the suffering, knowing that your loved one is no longer here? We typically associate grief with sadness, with anger, with everything that has to do with unpleasant emotions, right? We think that it's almost like a disgrace, a dishonor not to exhibit or experience these emotions after a loss, because for some reason we quantify not experiencing those emotions or not enough of them with the love, the relationship that we shared with our loved one. And we've spoken in previous videos how that's all a bunch of crap. No one can tell you how to feel or how to experience your grief. So the third question is there something wrong with you for experiencing happiness or joy while you're grieving? Traditions of how grief should be experienced from dating back to the times of the Romans and the Greeks, and how we even had paid mourners to pretty much exhibit this intense amount of sorrow simply because they were afraid that the dead would not be pleased with the way they were grieved during the services. So again, we can see how we pick up some of these traditions and views of what grief should look like based on dating back to our ancestors and things like that. So the next question is, what will people say if they see me happy? Will they tell me, wow, Lindsay apparently is doing good now. She must not be grieving. She must not be suffering. She must have forgotten about her mom. These are the common judgments that people may pose. But again, if you're suffering and feeling sad and feeling in pain, they label you as depressed. Something's wrong with her. She should get help. If they see you happy, enjoying your life and trying to rebuild, well, she's doing really bad, or she must not have loved her mom. Either way, as you can guys tell, you're never going to win with people. So that's why you have to be true to yourself and what emotions are wanting to come out at the time. If it's joy, experience it. If it's sadness, experience it. The next question is, does you feeling joy mean that you are forgetting about your loved one? Now, I know this was a common one for me to ask myself because I said, now that my mom is no longer here, I can't fathom the thought of ever feeling joy without her. That would mean that I was in essence happy that she was no longer here. Where it's like, no, it's a different kinds of happiness. Yes, it's a different kind of joy. And while yes, you do miss your loved one and you're always going to miss them and you're going to wish they were here, at the same token, you should still not be able to rob yourself of feeling joy, of feeling happiness, because your loved one, and I know this is something that may irritate people initially, but in essence, yeah, your loved one wouldn't want to see you butchering yourself and just like punishing yourself for something that is unfortunately natural and we're all going to experience. The next question is, does it mean that you didn't love your loved one enough now that you're experiencing joy or happiness? In essence, your love should not be quantified by how you experience your grief. The connection and the love, as I mentioned, that you shared with your loved one, you shared with them while they were alive. Whatever public display that you have of your grief should not quantify whether or not you love them. We almost are taught and learn how to connect with our loved one through those unpleasant emotions. That emotion has become associated with them. But at the same token, when your loved one was here, did you not experience moments of joy, of laughter, of happiness with them? Why then now would you feel like you can only associate them to the negative feelings? The circumstances leading up to their death and everything else may make it difficult initially to experience these feelings of joy. However, when they do come up for you, you shouldn't feel like you have to suppress them, because what a beautiful thing to be able to think about your loved one at some point and laugh and feel joy and feel happiness, because those two are valid emotions. Those two are emotions that you're able to connect with them with, right? When we're actually at capacity and have the ability to take that break and someone comes into our lives to, you know, perhaps say something funny, to perhaps take us out to dinner, to distract us, to perhaps take us on vacation or a getaway or even a drive just to simply distract you. Like, why not take that opportunity to say like, okay, let me take a break. It's been really intense for me these past few days, weeks, years. Like, let me just be right now. The best thing you can do for yourself, for your loved one, for everyone around you is to simply honor your experiences, feel them, but also not feel like you have to be one-sided. So meaning not feeling like you have to show more of the negative or the unpleasant emotions versus the pleasant emotions, right? In the same intensity that you can cry, like you're never gonna stop, is the same intensity that you can laugh and experience this joy. I wanted to share a brief example of someone that I knew that actually was having difficulty, because again, when we look at different cultures, it is viewed as a dishonor to experience joy. Is that really something that's realistically manageable for the rest of your life? Is that something that's attainable, or is it even fair to me as a human being? So this person went on vacation. Her mother had passed away probably a year ago when we spoke. And when she came back, I said, you know, how'd it go? And she told me it was almost like she even had her head down. She was like, I felt really bad, I'll be honest with you. And I said, what happened? Like, did something come up? Like, were you thinking about mom? She said, for the first time, I felt so happy, and I was actually laughing, and I had to catch myself because I was like, oh no, like I'm around my dad and I can't show him that I'm happy. And I felt bad because I wanted to be happy, but I knew that I couldn't, because I felt like, you know, I didn't want to make it seem like I was happy that my mom was no longer here. And it just sounded insane, but yet so understandable to me, just because, again, the pressures that we put on ourselves, the pressures that we receive from the culture, from religion, from society, from humans in general, it can make us feel like we're boxed into this small little confinement, and we're restricted to act and speak and experience our grief a very particular way, which is usually one-sided, right? So remember that a part of honoring your emotions is allowing the good, the bad, and the in-between to come out as they wish. When you're able to laugh after loss, it's almost like you take a step back and say, wow, I am so grateful to have been able to laugh. Being able to be gifted that during a time of loss, during a time of sadness, of pain, of suffering, is something that words cannot describe. So the joy that you feel today, of course, will not be the joy that you felt when your loved one was here, but it is joy nonetheless. It is a different kind of joy, and a joy that comes, as I mentioned, with appreciation. So forget what people have to say about your grief. Forget what people have to say at all. This is your life. This is your experience, and nobody's gonna walk them out in your shoes and take your emotions from you and carry them for you, right? So with that being said, as I say to you every single week, there is no right way, there is no wrong way to experience your grief. There is only your way. I thank you for tuning in, and I really hope that you guys take these questions with you to truly reflect and internalize and have that dialogue with yourself of, okay, what's going on here? Like, what am I doing? Is this coming from me, or is this coming from what I feel like is expected of me? So I thank you once again. If you haven't already done so and you're new to my channel, please subscribe, turn on your notifications so that you're alerted when I upload my videos. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at lifeafterloss0322. And for any suggestions or inquiries, feel free to send me an email at lifeafterloss0322@gmail.com. Until the next.